welcome back to Watch Less. We're currently in a string of very, very special guests. Today is no exception. I want to say, I think the first time I saw this man in a film, it was probably Do the Right Thing. Probably Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. He played Bugging Out. It was probably, I would have been, 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that when I first saw it. And I think he was probably at that time, with Warrant, one of the angriest black men I'd ever seen on film. I greatly appreciated that, but I also greatly appreciated following his career as he grew. He was in a string of Spike Lee films, both before and after that, but he's blossomed. He's played drug dealers like Esteban is in Fresh, the film that I hold near and dear to my heart. But, he's had an amazing career. I know a number of people probably know him best these days as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad and now in Better Call Saul, which is nearing the end of its time. Giancarlo Esposito, thank you for joining the Watch Less podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you today.
A legend.
How are things going? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've taken this time during this shelter at home period to redefine myself and my goals and values for the next few years. And that, of course, includes getting some equal justice for African Americans who've been dehumanized in our country. And so I've been thinking, what can I do to be in support of all humanity now it's become a world global movement? I'm very proud to have been able to survive being a black man for all these years, which is not an easy feat.
I mean, you talk about living that. What's it like to live in a guy like Gus's head for a time? Like, are you super method when it comes to stuff like that?
Well, I don't consider myself super method, but I like to stay in the character when I'm on set. And I certainly, on a day of shooting where I have a 6 or 8 o'clock call time, I'm certainly up at 4 thinking through the ramifications of what I'm about to do scripturally that day, what our story is and what it is. So maybe I am a bit method. I feel like I get in a yogic space, because yoga was the impetus for me setting up and realizing Gus's calm nature. And it led me to the idea that he's more of an observer of people to figure out how to manipulate them. So within his observance, he checks off boxes. This person wants this from life. This person aspires to do this. This person doesn't have the means to do this. And he figures out what a person may need and what that trade-off may be to go into business with that person. And so Gus is very thoughtful, which I like about him.
Yeah.
He thinks about the future. He thinks about the bigger picture of things. And in my conversations with Vince was this collaborative nature of someone who really wanted to be a part of a new and fresh idea. So once I said to him, look, your stage direction, Hiding in Plain Sight, is what guided me to perform the way I did in the first 2 guest episodes that you had me on. So just so you know what I was thinking, I was honoring this hiding in plain sight. You don't know who you're meeting. You don't know what your neighbor's doing. And I was fascinated by that. So I took it a step further in talking to him about the kind of villain or non-villain businessman that I wanted to create. And he was fascinated by it. So yes, the collaborative feeling on this particular show, the sharing of ideas, was really a wonderful way to go about joining this show. However, sometimes when people collaborate, they lose their sense of what they originally intended or what they wanted. And that's not the case with Vince.
Giancarlo, you and Vince together created just 2 seasons and change, one of these iconic characters of, television history, I'd say. But to that end, did you have like some reservations about revisiting the character in Better Call Saul? Like, did you, for a point, think that, we did it, it's done, I don't want to tinker with it anymore?
I got to tell you, I was finished.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. Those were my words almost verbatim to myself. What more do I have to show this character? And again, before I joined this show, I had to talk to Vince. And I was hopeful that the show was going to bring something new information about Gus out, even if it was subtle. And Vince and I spoke for a long time, and he said, well, part of the allure and the mystique of Gustavo is that we always want to know more about it. Mm-hmm. And so the majority of who he is in this particular show has to be a mystery as well, which part of me was disappointed by. Yeah. Like because I have felt like there's traction and there's merit to a show that would be titled in my brain, The Rise of Gus. And I felt like his story has yet to be told and still could be. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not doing The Rise of Gus, why do I want to go back?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I thought about the experience that I had previously with these writers, and I thought about the idea that Bob Odenkirk is not just a comedian, but a very fine actor. And I thought about the idea that this show could be more about personal relationships than Breaking Bad was, because mm-hmm. it's a smaller show mm-hmm. that has now grown to be moving in the trajectory of edginess and violence that Breaking Bad started at.
I'd have to imagine, just going from what you said, that even still, Gus is probably the top thing you get on the street from people.
There's no doubt about it. I get a lot of recognition from playing Gus. And what I like about the recognition I do get is that it's respectful, mm-hmm. Because it's peppered with a little bit of fear. Because people don't know if I'm that guy through and through. And I say to them, well, look, I play that guy, so there's got to be a part of that guy that's like me. Mm-hmm. So when I learned how to act, it was like, take the best and leave the rest. And so, yes, can I be that intense? Yes. Can I stop one of my daughters with just one look? Yes. Is there that inside me somewhere? Yes. Because people are a combination of how they were raised, environment they were raised in, and also they're a combination of their dark and light side. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of them making the choice of, what am I going to be today? Yeah. Am I going to be nice Giancarlo, who's, Mr. Yogi, prayerful, mindful, humanitarian human being? Or did I wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Am I going to be inside the skin of one of my, despicable characters? And because you asked this question, and it reminded me of a story when I walked by, I think was it Fences? No, Kenny Leon was doing the last Denzel play on Broadway. This is going back a few years. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like African Americans were a little slower than everybody else to catch on to Breaking Bad. Like, mm-hmm. this is like my crowning glory to be sitting here with you two right now. It is, because we were a little bit late.
No, yeah.
Well, we were early. We were on time.
Yeah, I'll admit, I caught on. It was the end of season 2, I think, but I saw one episode. I'm like, damn, I need to binge all this, because season 3 was coming up in a couple of weeks. So by the time season 3 was coming, I was fully on board. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
There you go. So I walked by the theater. They were loading in the show. Denzel was in it, and Kenny Leon was outside with some of the African-American Teamster workers as they were loading in the show. And I was on my way to a voiceover audition in a suit, looking high and tight, just walking. And they stopped me. They were like, oh, my God, it's Gus. And Kenny Leon was like, that's Giancarlo. Wow. Oh, my God, it is Giancarlo, but he's Gus. Kenny Leon was like, I know. And I stood out there with these brothers for 15 minutes. And they were going on and on about how good Breaking Bad was. And Blas, I'm so happy. Pass the word on. We got to it now. Mm-hmm. And I turned to walk away from them. And they've been talking, Gus, 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 Gus. And my whole posture was different. And I'll never forget it. For 2 blocks, I walked, and what's wrong with me? And I went, oh, Gus, get out of here. Get out. Get back. Step back, brother. I had become him physically.
Yeah.
Because that juice and love was coming at me. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I was Gustavo, and I said, oh, man, he takes over like that. I realized what I haven't told my children, my 4 daughters, and is that every day that I leave my house, no matter where I am, get in that car, there's a little note to myself that happens. That is that little bit of like, okay, take a breath. Not only because I'm out in the world, but also because I have this color skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what am I going to share with my children? How I feel. And I sat and I said to myself, what do I feel? I feel afraid. Mm-hmm. And that fear to me turns into hypervigilance, anger, and self-defense. Because I'm always looking, it's going to come at me from somewhere for one reason or another. And that made me sad. that I'm a successful at my craft and my work and my artistry, but that I still live in fear of a police society that might remind me that I'm not only am I a talented, wonderful, committed, creative artist, but that beyond all that, none of that matters. So when all this stuff happened in this country, I said to myself, it don't matter who you are.
Yeah.
It don't matter who you are. And so I was really tickled when so much of Hollywood started to share their photos from their homes and got slammed. I knew that was for banging the pots. I always wanted one of them pot raps that Ellen had. I always wanted one of those pot raps.
The 7 p.m.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of home, but I know it was all with good intentions that they wanted to share themselves, but sometimes misguided. I look around my little humble abode that I'm in right now, a little small little house, perfectly fine for me, and I realize how blessed I am.
Mm-hmm.
Have this space of calm and peace to do my work, talk to you, and do my thing. I don't always feel that way out in the world. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. No one should feel this kind of feeling. So I realized, man, I got a little work to do too, because I'm holding a lot of anger from years of being stopped unjustly, put on the ground, cuffed a couple of times, told, all those things I've experienced as well. So, but I have hope that humanity's going to come back and we're going to wrestle with this problem and finally get some legislative change on the books so people can feel not just it's hearsay or just, that their voices are really being heard. We're talking about a world where we have to look at things in a completely different light because it has been so instilled in us as African Americans.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to be afraid of our own people. It's crazy. So I have to take responsibility for some of the roles I've played may have led to having police officers being in a bad light. Now, I can't believe that most of us as African Americans, and I'll get off this in a second, that you two don't know a black or a white police officer. Police officers. I do too.
Mm-hmm.
So all this went down, all this anger and all this, and I thought about my past, all the incidents I could go through visually, all the times that indecent and illegal things happened to me by the police. Either I got out or I didn't, or I had to go to jail, or whatever it was, right? And all that anger still plays on me. But then I sat here and thought about my buddy Rich Richmond, police officer in Austin, Texas. And I went, oh. And then I thought about my other buddy who's a cop. And I went, wait a minute now. So don't go with the flow of the thinking everyone's bad. Yeah. Because Rich is a good cop. And I know other good police officers. So, but we get into that thinking, just like we think, don't drive down. No, I wouldn't go down Cornell because that goes through Martin Luther King. And that's
yeah, that's real.
You don't want to be there.
Those are real conversations, yeah.
I'm an actor, so I go to moments that have lived for me. And I, look, I go all the way back 25 years ago when I got stopped with my former wife, who's white, mother of my children, on the Brooklyn Bridge for changing lanes. And I had used my blinker. They insisted I didn't. They came out of their cars with guns on me. Wow. And I'm, on an early date with the future mother of my children. And they came both sides, guns drawn completely. I'll never forget it. Wow. Like, I was like, that's it. That ruined my date. This woman I'm falling in love with, she's gonna be running from me. You know what I mean? I remember that like it was yesterday. So when you talk about this article, I think maybe the suggestion might have been to have them come up with a personal story so that we don't feel like it's just white speaking to black. Yes. I have experience, which is why all these interviews are reminding me to speak to my daughters, to speak to my girlfriend in Europe's son, who's 6, to know what to expect. I don't want them to be hypervigilant like me or in fear, but I can speak to it from a visceral standpoint, because even down to the last shooting last week, like the dude grabbed Taser at Wendy's. No, I mean, you can't do that. Ran away, pointed it back at them. No, you're just pushing the envelope to get that bullet in you. But even with all that, I can understand that. He was afraid.
Yes. It's his life.
He turned and booked. He trying to protect himself. He was scared. He was afraid. And he was also whatever he was on, he was on.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I look at that, and believe me, I say, that could be me. And that could be
100%.
and not in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a good runner. And I would be hauling ass out of there just like you did. And to get shot in the back, such a tragic, horrible thing.
What do you think Hollywood needs done, or what do you think young creatives in Hollywood should be starting to do to help change that system from the inside out?
Well, I think you really have to be sensitive and go through the right channels. Mm-hmm. And I believe that is most important, because when you represent yourself in the correct way with the right words and the right statements and the right protocol, people have to listen. They have to listen. There's no way around that. You're not screaming. You're not irate. You're not angry. You're laying out the code for the new world. Mm-hmm. And believe me, this has to happen. We take 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. And we have a year in Hollywood where there's been truly unconventional casting, and we have African Americans who've excelled, who've been up for awards, and we go from that to nothing. It's really kind of unbelievable and amazing. So I do believe that as our stories start to become more universal, mm-hmm. then people will start to understand the pain that African Americans have gone through, the complete we've been ostracized, we've been put out of business. The African Americans who go into business, become successful, are on their own, right? Because it's taken them so long to get where they need to be, and they're looking back going, oh, sorry, some are reaching back to help, but others are like, wow,
I'm here.
I got out.
Yeah.
Get out of what? He's still in the world.
He's still here. He's still here.
So it's really, really interesting. But I think that our stories will start to illuminate the progress that we're about to make. Mm-hmm. Because and I encourage young filmmakers, actors, performers, artists to create their own stories. Write their stories with creativity. Write them and tell them as they are, true to be, so that people can really see and understand and feel that it's not just, that our voices aren't going to be falling on deaf ears, that people really, really will understand. What do they understand? They understand family. They understand connection between their children to their daughters and their sons and their fathers and their mothers. They understand those stories. And I got a text from dear friend Steve Chisholm, anesthesiologist, worked so hard in Long Island, in Bayshore in a hospital. He's been on the COVID unit for 3 months, seeing death. And he wrote me and said, man, fuck, excuse my language, my parents had to go through this. I had to go through this, and now my kids have to go through this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are feeling that way. So that means people are ready for change.
Yeah.
They're ready for change. They're ready to look at you and I and go, oh, okay. And that look that you get. That look you get is, oh, you're an educated black man. Oh, it's that, I'm speaking to someone I didn't expect to be speaking to. What did you expect?
Yeah, exactly.
Now you mentioned, you said nefarious. It does seem like, though, you do enjoy playing the heavy on quite a bit of these shows. Moff Gideon is definitely shaping up to be of that antagonistic nature.
Yes, well, the Moff is someone who wants to control the world in many regards. Part of him wants to save the universe because it's all collapsed. But the other part, too, and Gus had a bit of this. Moff is a little different. He's a little more hot-headed, and he likes to fight and does his own fighting. Yeah. But he also feels like he can do it better. Like, I can put this universe back together in a better way. And what we don't know about Moff is intriguing, is how he knows everything. Like, he knows about people. He has information. And that for me is a reflection of the world we're in now. It's all information. Who has the information and can recite the information back, and is so very important in our society today, about people's record, about what they've done in the last 5 years. I mean, all of that, it plays right into the political aspect of our country. Don't forget, have a good memory to know what's been going down for the last 100, 200 years, so you can be informed for it not to happen again.
Moff's got the information. He's also got that damn dark saber. I mean, it was cool to see. I wish we had gotten more. I'm assuming when season 2 comes later this year, we'll get a lot more Moff. But I wanted to see you swinging that thing around a little more before the season 1 ended. So I'm ready. I'm ready for season 2.
It's coming. It's coming. We're gonna have some. We got some action swinging of the saber.
We're doing your own stunts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they have a great stunt crew who just, we get in there, not a lot of time, but sometimes even on the day, and really just train up and do it. But yeah, I did all my own stunts on that, and I'm very excited at the team that they put together. Yeah. This show is just, to be working on a show in this universe I tickle myself every day. I truly do. I went back and looked at some of the old Moffs. There was one in Peter Cushing, a 40s actor who was excellent in one of the Star Wars trilogy movies. Because I watched the first few movies, but I didn't have a lot of information in terms of being a Star Wars fanboy. Yeah. So I went back and looked at a lot of stuff so I could feel what this universe was. And what is different about our Mandalorian world is that it is a true Western that encompasses the mythology of Joseph Campbell. Yeah. And that's important. And important for our African-American community to know about Joseph Campbell and the power of myth, because we, in all communities, our young sisters and brothers and children, sons and daughters, need to know that hero mentality can be theirs too. That is something that we have to aspire to, figuring out how to be our own heroes, because we haven't had many role models, and figuring out how to be the hero and champion of someone else, because to share that and pass it down puts us in a place where we understand that nature of heroism, feeling important, feeling like enough, feeling equal, feeling like we have a contribution, has been lost in our community. Yeah. Because, we have a contribution, and that contribution in the days to come is going to become more and more important to this society, because we will be asked, how does it feel? And you can describe that feeling, and you can put it into words of why you feel that way, and you can put it into words that why no one should feel this way. And then people will start to understand people differently on a larger scale. They'll get it. Like, are we really thinking that we don't have some of the same hopes and dreams that other people have? Are we really thinking that ours are so different? Is it really too much to ask to be justifiable in your criticism? Yeah. To be justifiable in your view that not every person is the same? We haven't even talked about folks who are running around with mental illness who are immediately put down. So the whole system needs to be changed, and I think it's moving in the right direction to help people where help is necessary and needed, and to have an understanding of people, because that one step back for half a second can give you the whole person's whole story, which would guide you to deal with them in a different way. And this is what we're going to come to. The people are going to become more astute at reading each other.
If you enjoyed that conversation with Giancarlo Esposito, head on over to the Watch Less podcast to check out the full interview. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Peace.